Joey, what episode is this?
Episode 14.
Episode 14 of In the
that.
Bushes. Very special guest today, Isaiah Bennett. Somebody that I think is one of the best people that I've ever met. He's a hard worker, somebody that I formed a pretty close relationship pretty quick after meeting.
Right.
And I think probably, one of the better arms I've seen. Some of the most athleticism, just pure force we're able to put in the ground. So from a biomechanics perspective, obviously you're kind of an outlier here. So you're sort of a legend for Brandon. You're always an example that he brings up when it comes to the lead leg and things like that. So I'm thrilled to have you on.
I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
so happy to be back home.
Thanks, man. First off, I want to bring up, we kind of just talked about it, having your own podcast, and now you're on the other end of it.
Right.
Where can people hear your podcast first?
So you can find me and my homeboy Kalen's podcast. It's called Chopping It Up with Kalen and Ike.
Okay.
You can find it on Apple, Spotify, all of it.
Wherever
We
your
have a little
podcast.
bit, right? Whatever, YouTube. We got some uploads on there. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Being on this side is going to be a little bit different because usually I'm the one asking, trying to figure out more about people. But
Yeah.
I guess it's time for me to tell a little bit about myself.
Let's do it, man. You were just telling me, too, I want you to let the people know, like, you've had some pretty cool guests on.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so with our podcast, the premise of what we do, we're trying to just highlight a lot of black baseball players, especially with the demographic of the game and everything going now. So it's kind of crazy. Our first guest was Mike Harris, and now he won NL.
Was that before or after?
This was when he was still in AA, I believe.
Okay.
And then honestly, I think 2 months after that, he gets called up.
That
and then
podcast blew up a little bit?
Ran with it. First episode, I think, might have the best numbers in terms of just
crazy,
like
man.
total impact and like views and everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Mike went crazy. I just had my dad and my brother on it to finish, and just
Okay.
like in terms of the game, right? There's so many different aspects and the ways it can turn out. So whether
Sure.
you can keep furthering the game and keep going in that way, or using the game and learning lessons to turn into in business and like changing the way of life. So
Yeah.
just highlighting black baseball players and just running with that.
That's awesome, man. And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, kind of going along that, how much work you actually do in the Fayetteville community. We'll talk kind of here in a little bit about you growing up in Fayetteville
Got
and
you.
friends and things like that. But, I think, and I've told you this every time I see you, I feel like what you guys do as just a family in Fayetteville and for the community, I think is fantastic.
I
and it
appreciate
just kind
it.
of speaks volumes to who you guys are.
Right.
So kind of elaborate on that a little bit, and if there's anywhere or any way people can help in any
Okay.
way, like if
Right.
there's any kind of website, whatever, go ahead and shout it out.
Definitely. So my brother comes home. He graduates in 2020, and it's right in the heat of COVID. So he's sitting, didn't even really have a bedroom at this point. He's just like staying on the couch at the crib. And
Okay.
he's telling me, I'm playing video games at this time, not really paying him much attention. He's like, hey, man, like I'm thinking about starting this nonprofit called the 26 Project. I'm going to have you be a big piece of this. We're going to make an impact in the city. And, like,
Sure.
at that age, I was just like, whatever. Like, obviously, I'm locked in on 2K, but just letting him run with it.
Who's your
And
team on 2K?
Oh, for me, so me and my homeboys used to do, like, the all-star team-ups and play against, like, random people.
Okay.
Or we go to the park and just run it up all
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
So
All right.
that also made my brother a little upset because he was like, Isaiah's not doing nothing with his time. But so he kind of it's kind of weird because at 2020 when he started the project, I remember being back in 2016 before he went off to college. He had this wall in his room, and he had a lot of like different ideas he wanted to do throughout the city. So
Sure.
he founded the nonprofit, and really our big event every year is the Christmas Give Back, where we're
Yeah.
able to give free haircuts. We partner up with Vic Blends, which is like my oldest brother.
Yeah,
really,
and
like,
I want to talk about, because he's kind of he's famous.
Yeah,
And
famous,
later
right.
on, I want to ask, like, we don't have to answer this right now, but who do you think the most famous guy to come out of Fayetteville is? Don't answer it now. We'll get to it.
Okay.
But, sorry,
okay.
Go ahead.
So with that, we do free haircuts. We
Uh-huh.
give free toys. They get to take pictures with Santa. Just basically like a whole vibe. We have a DJ, all the stuff that goes on. I think this past year we were able to serve over 3,000 people.
That's so cool.
And with that, we've also now been able to like come into the schools and kind of create like an incubator where we're having an emerging leaders program. So we take a bunch of high school kids, able to bring them up to Charlotte, bring them up to Atlanta, get
Sure.
different experiences with like engineering, tech,
That's awesome,
just basically a lot of stuff we're not ever exposed to in Fayetteville and have never seen. So
Right.
my brother and everybody who's in charge of that, like kind of running as a family, and he's been really, really good with able to like create connections with Dreamville. So we're taking kids to the Dreamville Festival and seeing J. Cole.
That's so cool.
Or basketball games in Charlotte, like just dope experiences that nobody in Fayetteville has ever done before.
Yeah.
So shout out to Grant, shout out to the team, man.
Yeah.
It's been really, really fun to be a part of.
I mean, that's fantastic, dude. Everything you guys do is unbelievable in giving these kids just those type of experiences that, like you said, a lot of them probably will never be able to get ever again.
Right.
And I kind of want to elaborate a little bit on that Dreamville stuff.
Okay.
I remember you told me a story about your brother when actually J. Cole called him.
Yes.
And he didn't believe it.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
So what was that like for him? And
So
I'm sure he still talks about
it's
that.
crazy. So the first experience of J. Cole that my brother had, I wasn't at the practice. It was his team's practice. And J. Cole walks in with his group and is like, hey, I'm looking for like 4 kids for my music video. Nobody knew who J. Cole was at the time. Just so happened my brother was there.
Was that around the warm-up and stuff like that?
Had to be around that time because it was the song Who Dat.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So once that video was being like recorded right on the same street we used to train on.
Is that right?
It's crazy. Like, so he had like I think it was the Fayetteville State Band got to come out. Like they had fire, all these type of things. And I'm standing off to the side, my dad just watching, but my brother gets to be in the video. And I think my brother ended up seeing J. Cole again after that, right before going to college. And he was stuck between going to A&T and Morehouse. And he was like, hey, go to Morehouse. Like, this would be the best experience.
Cole said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be the best experience for you. And obviously seeing now what my brother's able to do, like, kind of just, like, all came into fruition and just followed the right path for him. So, like,
so
J.
cool.
Cole, without really having, like, true, like, hands-on, like, true stuff, like, it really turned out really good for the city and especially for my brother.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's, in my opinion, I think he's the best out there right now, and you can tell he's very real. Like he wants to give back to his community, similar to what you guys do, and and just for him to kind of give that advice, it speaks to his character, and he speaks so highly of his childhood and all the great memories that he has. So I think that's pretty cool. He's able to kind of almost be a big brother to a lot of kids there. That you don't see a lot of stars do that nowadays.
Of course,
and
of course,
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's kind of go off that. Growing up in Fayetteville, you know, what was that like? Obviously, your dad was a coach.
Right.
What was it like having your dad as a coach? You're laughing, so I'm sure you got some good stories.
Got a ton of stories.
Go ahead,
So for me in Fayetteville, I mean, I couldn't imagine any other way.
Okay.
I think for my experience, Fayetteville was just a huge military town. So like the sense of community, like the pride of being in Fayetteville was really, really prevalent. So I just remember growing up, either my dad would take us to work with him and we got to meet everybody who was at like the military base, or going to school, my dad always being there, my mom always being there. Obviously with my dad being in the military 25 years, I think early on he used to be TDY a lot.
Was he so he got to Fort Bragg.
Got to Fort Bragg,
Was he there basically his whole military, or did you guys move around a lot, or
so
how did you get there?
Once we got to, for him, he started off, I think I want to say he started off in Washington. Washington State.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then moved to El Paso.
Yep.
That's where they had my brother Grant, and then they moved to Germany, and then came back to the States and ended up at Fort Bragg, and that's where I was born in South Carolina when they came back. But in that process of moving to Fayetteville,
got it.
I've been in Fayetteville my whole life.
Yeah, that's all you know.
That's home. Yeah. So, I just remember like him he would be gone here and there, like TDY being deployed. He served in like 2 different wars and stuff, everything over there. But my mom was really like that glue, I guess. So like she was doing her job and taking care of all like 5 of us at the house, which was really, really crazy.
Yeah.
Then once dad was really back and locked in, it was just always sports. So like school would be handled, and my mom being a professor, like she handled, in terms of school aspect, there was nothing lower than like a B plus, right? So never. My dad, on the other hand, hey, you get your stuff done, we're going outside.
Yeah.
So we were always playing
dynamic,
sports.
Though, dude.
It was
That's what you want
perfect.
Yeah,
it was
awesome.
perfect, right? And both of them being the disciplinaries, but like a lot of the lessons I guess they taught us were going to be through sports.
Right.
And I think that was the best experience for all of us growing up. And yeah, man, my dad being the coach was rough, but like it turned out really, really well. Like we would butt heads all the time. It's so hard, I feel like, because I feel like with me and you, if you were to tell me something, just honestly, a little bit because you aren't my dad, I'm more prone to listen. You know how you get that little budge and it works that way. Yeah, man, always playing sports. It was soccer, football, baseball, basketball, track, like everything. Just did it all. And it was every season. It was every time of the year. We were never in the house. And then really when my dad took over the travel ball scene, like that's when everything started to change, and he was able to love. Oh my gosh, North Carolina people love my dad. It's either they love him or hate my dad. Honestly, no in between. You can't be an in between. He says it all the time on the phone with us. He's like, I'm the most hated person in North Carolina.
Probably most loved though.
And the most loved. He has to be. But at that point, watching him being able to navigate that, put some
Mm-hmm.
teammates all together, and like really create a real genuine team, but more or less like a band of brothers. Like we were,
Right.
I don't remember a weekend. I think from like 12 up when we were playing summer ball, like my house was packed with like 9, 10 of my teammates
So like your house was the house.
all the time.
Yeah.
So if we were traveling, my dad would go and pick every kid up in the van. We would drive around to wherever we were playing around Raleigh, Charlotte, come back to the house, right back outside playing basketball, football. Like it was every weekend.
I love it.
So
I love
my
it.
house was like kind of the like safe haven for everybody. We played
Yeah.
video games till 4 in the morning. We'd be a little bit slack. Don't give us the 9 o'clock game in the morning. We were a little weary on that side,
Yeah.
but we loved it, man. That experience looking back is something I would never change.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I think that dynamic, like you were saying, is so important for kids to understand. Like, you got to be outside playing, having fun, right? And look, that's not to say that there's no time for video games and hanging
Right.
out inside, but go outside. You know what I mean?
It was a healthy
And be
balance.
kid. Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
very healthy
That's not-
balance.
and get your schoolwork done.
Yeah,
You know,
of
so
course.
that's gonna. That I like schoolwork for kids just because it teaches discipline, not maybe so much the actual academic. How you absorb the knowledge,
Right.
Or the knowledge itself, but just discipline to sit down and try to study and learn for a test.
Of course.
You know.
Of course.
But yeah, I kind of want to talk, about your nickname, Ike, and I'm not even sure where that originated.
Okay.
So what's the story behind that?
So I was born in Charleston,
Okay.
and we were living with my grandparents at the time because we were still in that process of getting everything back from overseas and moving into Fort Bragg. So my dad, I think my dad was in Fort Bragg maybe 3 or 4 months before the rest of us, like my mom and
Okay.
my brother and sister, all of us came down. So my granddad, whenever I was crying, I guess, or keeping me up late at night, keeping everybody up, he would be the one to hold me. And I
Okay.
think it was one day he was about to leave for something, me crawling around, I had ended up grabbing his keys.
Oh,
And
okay.
from there, he couldn't go to work. He couldn't do what he had to do. And from then on, it's always just been Ike. So, like, my mama calls me Ike
Yeah.
and Bubba, all this. Dad calls me Ike. Everybody in
Everybody
Fayetteville.
does. And
Everybody I
was like,
know
that's
of at
not-
this point.
That's Isaiah. I don't know
Yep.
who Ike is, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I know the story now. That's cool, man. So kind of let's kind of transition here. Let's talk a little bit about your baseball career,
Of
how
course.
you found this place, that type of thing. You have a really unique story, and I think a lot of kids are gonna hear this, and it's gonna be good for them because it's gonna make them feel almost like validated in the sense that it's not just this linear path
Right.
to where baseball is going to be, right? Everyone at middle school, I'm sure you're like, okay, I'm just going to go to UNC, I'm going to get drafted, I'm going to go to the league, and that's
Right.
it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it doesn't always happen that way.
Of course.
So just let's start from day zero.
Day zero.
Day zero. How did Isaiah? Let's start off. How did you find this place? It was
Okay.
your senior year. You had Tommy John, right?
Into my junior year.
And your junior year.
Yep.
Okay. And then you found Brandon.
Yep.
Start there. Go.
Okay. So, yes, in the junior year, ended up finding out I had to get Tommy John, which kind of like demolished every thought of, for me, like being able to get drafted out of high school right away. Like I was like, okay, I know I'm going
So
to
there
school.
was some draft interest.
Of course,
obviously.
of course.
What do you, and just try to elaborate as much as you can on the mental side of things.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a physical component of,
Right.
of having elbow pain and all that, but more and more you see younger kids get hurt and have these type of serious injuries. How did you get through that? Like, what was you go under the knife? Now what?
I remember going under the knife, waking up, and me and my mom were in the car on the way back home, and like all the drugs are starting to wear off, and it kind of that's when it really hit me that I wasn't gonna be able to play ball for a year. So it was a real emotional time period, and it was like, I think honestly, the self-doubt, that's the first time in my life where I ever had to question, like, I feel like, okay, am I invincible in terms of being hurt, or is it going to be more of a quick bounce back? Okay, I heard some people get back in like 10 months. Like I thought for me, like, oh, it's written in stone, I'm going to be back playing.
Yeah.
What? No time. Whew. You know how that goes sometimes. So
I do.
end up coming to Brandon, going through my rehab process, and honestly, it was really, really good. I think until I got to school for Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
And
so you go to UNC.
Yes. So get drafted, finish senior year. Like
Who
didn't
drafted you again?
Yeah, the Padres.
Wasn't and this could be a story. I'm pretty sure Brandon has talked about this. You threw one of your last pens, I believe, with Brandon, and there was actually a Padres guy there.
I believe
correct?
Padres and the Mets that came that day. Yep.
Padres. So like even with the Tommy John, just scouts that followed you in previous obviously knew about you.
Right.
So that there I think is pretty cool because they never gave up on you. You know what I mean? Like there was like, oh, well, he had Tommy John. Okay, let's see how hard he worked. How'd that bullpen go in front of him?
I think I was only up to like 88, 89, which was
How many months out?
might have been 10 or 11, which like at the time, like I was like, okay, great. But from throwing like 94 in high school, like anything in the 80s really used to piss me off back in the day, right?
It still pisses you off.
100%. Like if we see 89 again, like we might have a serious problem. I'm calling you guys again.
All right.
But so throwing that pin, and it's funny, I was looking at that video actually the other day, and I was like, wow, like I looked terrible.
Really?
Like what did they want with me anymore, right? So that whole process of getting drafted was funny because I was working out that day because I was like, I'm not getting drafted, whatever. My dad is blowing my phone up when I'm with my trainer, and obviously just letting it go. I'm like, I'm going to finish this up. I get back in the car. He's like, you need to hurry up and come home now. We're going to go to dinner. And I'm like, for what? He's like, you got drafted. I'm like, wow.
You didn't know?
Didn't expect it. Didn't know. Didn't know.
Wow. Okay.
Did not know. So I ended up talking to them afterwards. Obviously, like for me, I felt the best option just in terms of like money and just like placement and everything, going to school.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to UNC.
Of course.
Like,
and I was like, at the time,
right,
and at the time, it was best programs in North Carolina, country, all of it.
Sure.
I was like, I'm gonna be a dude there and run it up, do my 3 years, and be out. Well, life has a different way of going sometimes.
It does. So I want you to kind of speak on that, you know, your time at UNC. What did you learn about yourself? Obviously, it didn't go the way that you thought it would.
Right.
What did you learn about yourself there?
It's a really good question. What did I learn about myself? I think I learned that, like, for me, there is no correct way to be able to get to a finish line.
Okay.
Or in general, just learning, like, it's okay to say no also. I think when I got to Carolina, when it came to a lot of the different coaching styles and just ways of getting things done, I was not accustomed to a lot of that thing, a lot of the ways, right? Like me and my dad, for me, I've always been a very quick twitch, like just go, don't
move.
think, just go. And I think the process of obviously, like for me, putting pressure on myself for one,
right,
and then also just like that, it's real quick turnaround, I guess, from not playing a season of high school and then going straight into ACC baseball. It was tough. It was really tough for me.
100%.
And I think for what I needed with my body, sometimes I needed to say a little bit, no, like that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
What we're working on right now for me I don't think it's going to be able for me to be replicating the game.
Right.
So again, nothing against them. Like for their process, I'm happy where they are, and I'm more than blessed to be in a situation I am.
No doubt. And I think that's a really good point, man. Like so many people, you want to be coachable.
Right.
Right. And you can still be coachable, but still say, hey, I don't like this feeling because of this.
Right.
And if the coach is worth a damn, to be honest, they'll be able to receive that and say, okay, that's fine. Like
right.
I'm not the one that's doing it
right.
physically.
Of course.
So I have to go off what my athlete's saying, and let's adjust. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways to pitch, and you watch the big leagues. I've said this so many times. Biomechanics and mechanics in general are like fingerprints. Everyone's
right.
got a different set, you know, and for you, needing to move fast is important. And like I said, if you're in a situation like that and you're listening and the coach is trying to get you to do one thing and it just doesn't feel right, say something.
Right.
And that's more than okay, you know. So that's great, man. You know, we go to UNC. Like you said, it doesn't go necessarily the way that we plan.
Right.
We transfer.
Yes.
We go to Chipola Junior College, one of the best junior colleges in baseball, I think. I mean, you see the dudes that they've pumped out of there. All of them, I feel like, are going D1 out of there, right? Or at least getting drafted.
Right.
But JUCO's a different beast, if you will, from what I've heard. What'd you learn about yourself there? You know, it's a completely different setting than Chapel Hill, North Carolina, at UNC, the prestigious UNC.
Right.
And now we go to JUCO.
I learned that it was okay for me to be alone.
Okay. That's great. I like that.
Because another reason I went to Chapel Hill, I was only an hour and 30 minutes from my parents. My brother could drive up. He was only 4 hours away, being in like Atlanta.
Yeah.
So everything for me was still like accessible. That without really knowing about Chipola, I just went on a limb just because I had friends who had gone to Chipola and told me about Coach Jay. And just went down there. I remember literally walking into the dorm and I was like, oh no, like this is real. Like,
I'm here now.
right. This is
Yeah.
not Chapel Hill. This is not my parents' house no more. Like, I'm back on the twin bed. It is just us and like 500 other people in this
Yeah.
small city in Florida. So I learned to be alone. Like, I learned to be able to like deal with a lot of my stuff by myself, being able to get stuff done. I kind of just grew up pretty quick, I feel like, in terms
You
of that
have to.
aspect. Of course.
That's a great answer, man.
Yeah.
I think when you're that, introspective and knowing, those type of life lessons, especially when you can look back on a couple
Right.
of years. I mean, it's not that long ago, really.
It's not. It was
you know?
20. I think that's spring of 21. So only.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's only really
Yeah.
2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And how was that season for you? We'll kind of get into you coming home and
Of course.
and why you did it. But what did that initial fall? How did that go?
Okay.
I know you were kind of still coming off the Tommy John rehab
Right.
somewhat,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
From a baseball perspective, how was that?
So that fall, I was finishing up at Chapel Hill. Obviously, exit meetings, ended up getting up out of there. So that spring, like that whole winter process while training is, for me, having 7-8 phone calls to different schools daily, like trying
This
to
is
figure
before
out.
the transfer portal, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I'm all trying to figure out where I'm going. I was like, I don't want to go to another D1. Like I
Yep.
need to go figure something out. Like I want to just be able to be me in any environment.
So many people say that about JUCO,
Right.
too.
And you literally go down there and it's you.
Yeah.
And like that was the most talented team I've ever been on.
Any
by
dudes
far.
from that team?
I'm gonna go my boy Jalen Allen.
Okay.
My roommate Miles Austin was a PG All-American.
Okay.
Amazing ball player, freak athlete.
Yeah.
Matthew Corlew, he's coming to Queens with me this year. He was at
Okay.
EKU, freak
Nice.
athlete in the outfield. I want to say we had 5 or 6 arms who were 95, 96 plus, like pumping
Crazy.
dudes out. And that's when I realized, like, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not the best pitcher here. Like, I don't
thought you
have
might
right.
be.
I don't have the best fastball. So,
Right.
yeah, that spring was really, really fun. It started really, really good for everybody. And for me especially, like I was getting my feet underneath me. I was throwing really, really well. And then I had a rough patch about 2 outings.
Okay.
And that's when I get that phone call from my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If obviously I know we talked about it. This is something that I think a lot of people know about now. Your dad had some health struggles, and you got that call, and you guys being such a tight knit group,
Right.
your first thought was, I got to go home.
I wanted to go home.
Yeah.
Right away. Like he called me. I want to say it was about 8:39 at night, and I remember just like as soon as we hung up, I like basically just threw my phone off the wall. Somehow it didn't crack, but
Yeah.
I remember,
man.
yeah. And so with Chipola's campus is literally just you. So I just walked around for a little bit. I called my homeboy Jalen, and we just walked around and just talked. And I was like, man, like I don't want to be here. Like
Yeah.
baseball doesn't matter right now. I'm 10 hours from my family. Like I know I probably can't do much in terms of help, but I just don't want to be here. So my dad convinced me somehow to stay, but I remember telling the coaches, like, if you put me on this mound, like, I'm sorry. Like, I want no piece of this at all. Like, I'm nowhere mentally here. I just want to finish school. If that's the case, I promised my parents that. I just want to go home.
Yeah.
So finish that season out. We honestly should have won everything, I think, but we had some internal problems that year a little bit. But ended up going home, and I remember my brother flying into Tallahassee. I drove up to pick him up just so he could help me on the drive back. And both of us just talking, and I was like, yeah, like, they were asking me, what school you think you about going to next? What's the next thing? I said, home. Like,
Can't even think that
I
far
don't
ahead.
want to think about baseball. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
touch a ball that summer or nothing. I was just like, Dad, like, I'll finish school. But, like, I want to be around. If you have appointments, I want to go to your appointments. And
Right.
same thing with my dad being sick, but my grandma also has Parkinson's. So, like,
Yeah.
they were all living together at that same time, and nothing else mattered to me but just being there. So,
That's awesome, man. There's so many things that are just bigger than baseball,
Mm-hmm.
and like you don't have to go through something, mentally that's just making it so much worse.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, if there's any way to, and I hate saying this, but sometimes you need to put off baseball.
yeah.
Like I said, there's so many life things that people go through that you have no idea. I have no idea what so-and-so's going through
Right.
today. And you just have to treat them with the utmost respect
Mhm.
and acknowledge that you don't know what's going on.
Right.
Right? So
Right.
For me, and how I operate, I think that is just such a unique view into who you are.
Mhm.
So many people be like, "Oh, I'm gonna play. I need to play." Right? But
Right.
you want to be with your family, man.
Right.
And I think that's really cool.
I appreciate it.
So then let's go into our off season.
Yes.
So how much time did you take off from Chipola to when we started working together?
Ooh.
How many? I can't remember if that was.
Did we start in October? Was it October or November? Or maybe it might have been.
I think it might have been earlier than that.
You think September?
Nah, maybe October.
Okay.
Let's go October. I think
Okay,
that sounds
so
right.
I didn't touch
That was 21.
Yeah, fall of
21.
21.
Yep.
So I go back to Chapel Hill. I go and tell my parents, like, hey, I know there's a return to Carolina thing for athletes. I'm gonna just go back, take classes. Like, obviously that is the goal at the end of the day, is to get my degree.
Yep.
But no baseball. And they're like, okay, like, if that's the decision, like, me and my dad were butting heads on it because he wanted me to get away. He thought it was gonna be my escape. But I was like, I don't care. Like, none of this stuff matters. So get there. So from Chipola to when we started playing catch and working on our stuff, what's that, 4 or 5 months of like nothing?
I think
like
so.
Nothing.
Yeah, I remember. So I was still playing at this time.
Right.
So like I wasn't like working here or nothing.
Right.
And Brandon was like, Bobby, I got a kid for you. I want you to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, what do you want me to do? It's like, it's Isaiah, and I've met you before.
Right.
I was like, oh cool, what are we working on? He's like, well, the arm action, man. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah.
He's had a tough time after TJ. The ER is not there.
Yep.
The horizontal abduction is not there. I don't, I want to give him to you, and let's see what we can do. Said, fine by me. I love challenges.
Right.
Let's do it.
Right.
So I remember I would work out here, and then I think I would go home for a little bit and then come back on the days that you would come in. And I just remember getting to know you and getting to know you as a person. I was like, oh, this is going to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
This kid wants it, man.
Right.
Like, he's going to get after it, and he's going to give me 110%. I'm all bought in. Like,
right.
At first, I'm playing. I got my wife at home. I got family, but it's
right.
like I enjoyed it, so
right.
I'm going to do it. So I appreciate how much you put into it.
Thank you. You were the man for it.
Shoot, I don't know about that. But kind of talk about what we did, how we approached that off season, things that worked for you, and how we kind of got back to where you're at now.
Right. So I was at Chapel Hill, and one of my former teammates, Stephen Pelly, had started playing catch with me, like just randomly. He was like, I want to get back in the ball.
He was a dude that would come in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And I was just like, I don't want to play ball, but if you need someone to play catch, cool. Literally make a phone call. I'm like, man, let's just see. It's a little itch in me. Like I'm starting to feel better. My dad's feeling a little bit better. Maybe we can just at least start training. So called Brandon, able to link up with you, Bobby, my man. So we I remember the first day we came in and we were doing just basically like stationary drills. You were just watching my arm action and looking at the video and how far my elbow was in front of my face.
Yeah,
and like
pushy.
It's like, goodness gracious, like this is terrible. And I would tell you the back of my shoulders bother me, still having a little bit of elbow pain. So we just went to work. And I remember we were basically both open books to each other. So I remember you came in with the Indian Club, and that honestly I think kind of changed everything from there.
We did that, dude. I remember there were some days where I felt like it was just like, I want to say hours because it wasn't, but we were just sitting there with that damn thing for
the whole time,
a long time,
working on it, and then getting I think we were doing the heavier balls, heavier plyos and heavier like leather balls. And I think it was just training my body to get comfortable again, being uncomfortable. So letting the arm work, letting everything work from at least like the top up. I think everything down below has never been a problem. Being able to get online and just creating power.
One of the best lower halves we've seen as far as magnitudes, forces, all of it. So, yeah, that's not an issue. That's a soccer thing too, I think.
It definitely is.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So, I want to say that whole fall and winter, like I think I was 3 times a week. I think I went like something Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and would be here for an hour. We would work out, we would talk, and I think the best thing about it was the talking piece. As much as it was baseball, I remember doing plyos, and you asked me, "Hey man, how's your dating life going?" And we would just chop it up. And I kind of needed that at the time, especially being at Chapel Hill, because I kind of isolated myself just because I was still going through my own things, and I really took upon like our friendship and our relationship that we built here, especially bonding over baseball and just working and getting better, honestly, with both of us. So,
no doubt.
I think we both learned a lot from that, and I appreciate you more than ever, like being able to give me that confidence back, honestly, just be able to step on the mound. So,
well, thank you, man. I like I said, I enjoyed it probably more than you did, and it made I was kind of going through that kind of phase where COVID happened, and it took a lot of I don't want to say the joy out of the game,
right.
It changed the game.
Definitely.
Right? You had to be wearing masks, and you could be, the locker rooms were different.
Right,
all of
right.
So like it gave me that feel of the game as well, to where I had a teammate to just, like you said, just talk with.
Right.
So, that helped me a lot too.
Definitely. I appreciate you.
No, of course. So, we get done. I go off and play.
Yes.
We go to summer league for
Mm-hmm.
you. Where did you play? How did that go? And how did you get to Queens?
That's a really good question. So, I think you go off. What was that? Is that February?
Yep,
February spring training.
Yep.
And then from then, I think me and Chris were one-on-one. We would do a bullpen, I think, on Tuesday and Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
So I would do my throwing at school, come back, do all of our stuff, and then I think with you, me and you were tinkering with different grips with the curveball, the
Yep.
slider, all of that stuff. And I think with Chris, we kind of just kept hammering away at the arm action, everything. So made one phone call. I remember the last day I took exams in May. I was like, all right, well, it's enough thrown in here. Like, we got to figure it out if it works in the game. So we're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
Made a phone call. My dad got me into a summer league up in the I was in the I think it's the SCBL. It was up in Charlotte. And one of the mentors I've had, he saw me when I was like 14, and ever since then we've been really, really good. Great relationship with my dad too. His name is Jeff Schaefer.
Okay.
And he had really good connects with Queens because they use his field for the home games.
Got you.
So I made a call to Coach Schaefer, like, hey, I know you have a lot of connects with college. Like, I'm trying to get back. I'll throw a bullpen, whatever. Right away, I get a call from Coach Steely at Queens. He's like, hey, can you be up here tomorrow? I'm like, bet. Cool. Drive up the next day, throw a bullpen. And they're like, we're going to watch you playing summer ball, all of it. Cool. First outing, I think I go 3 up, 3 down the first inning, strike out the first 3 up to like 93, 94. I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm back. End up giving 5 up the next inning. And I'm like, oh, here it goes again.
Yeah,
but,
baseball.
like, he texted me the next day and was like, here's the offer. Like, we love what we're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is amazing. I'm happy that you're back. We're gonna love to have you at Queens. And this is right when they transitioned into D1 too.
Yeah.
So that summer for me at that point, it kind of freed me up. So I was able to work on different things. It was like an up and down, like really, really good starts, and I would come out. Some of them weren't so pretty, but my thing was, it was the whole of course, it was a whole year, really like a year and a half off of just no ball.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I had a great time with my teammates. We were all just going through it together, and I was ready to get to school.
I bet. Yeah, that's cool, man. And I feel like just you talking, you can tell the love of the game started to come back.
Right.
You go through so much. You go through TJ to UNC to Chipola to going through what you went through with your dad. And then we have this little light of like, okay,
right,
I'm back. I feel like myself.
Right.
Things are going well. I can enjoy the game again.
Of course.
So
of course.
Getting to Queens, like you said, they're D1 now. So
yes.
This is their first full year this past year.
Yep.
Being a D1 team. What was that like being back in the locker room with a Division I program? Getting to play some pretty good schools too. You know what
really
I mean?
Good schools.
You had a really good schedule.
Yes.
So, did you enjoy being thrown in the fire that quickly again? Was that something like you were like, hell yeah, I'm relishing this. Like I want this.
At first, when I saw the schedule, my heart did pound a little bit.
Did it really?
Of course. I think it was just like the normal feeling of like, oh snap, like. This ain't summer ball no more. This ain't travel. Like, I'm really locked in on the school. Like, here we go. Yeah. And that fall for me was just, I kind of took it very personal. And more or less not against my teammates, but like for myself. Like, can I execute this pitch as many times as I want to my glove side? What can I do? Where's my breaking ball going to end up? How can I keep on getting better? And especially like coming from Carolina, I think a lot of those culture traits that I had and I'd learned, like seeing really, really successful people at a high level.
Sure.
I think the catch play became way more efficient. Everything in terms of just taking care of myself and then trying to like figure out like this whole school in itself. I didn't want to come in and kind of like just say, here's how it needs to be, all that stuff. So learning from my teammates, trying to take a step back and just observe, right? And seeing how everything was playing itself out. And I honestly thought we were going to have a really good spring, but of course, things happen, man.
Baseball doesn't go the way it's supposed to.
Baseball happens.
So what was that season like?
Up and down, really rocky. Really, really good outings against really, really good teams. And
you sent me the video of you pitching against South Carolina.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that, dude, and I was so fired up for you because, like, snapping off breaking balls, punching people out. I'm like, the kid's back. Let's go.
Yes.
So, like, that in itself is just such a win, man. Like, I know it didn't go perfect like you're about to talk about, but, like, having those moments, like, they got to feel good.
Right. Of course. So, definitely, again, seeing the schedule, South Carolina was one I circled. ECU was another one I circled. I didn't get a pitch that game because my boy Daniel Bagwell went absolutely crazy against them. We should have beat them.
Okay.
But North Carolina, that was
That you circled.
Oh yeah, big red all the way around.
Yep.
But
hung that one up.
Oh, definitely, it was right on the wall, ready to go.
Yep.
So for me, it was really, really fun. Like, even though we were losing, like, from a personal standpoint, like, I never felt that I lost the joy, even though we were losing from me. And I think that was really, really huge, especially just being a competitor, though. I was like, of course I wanted to win, but the win is showing up to the field and having the privilege to play. And I think that's one thing I'm so happy about this past year I didn't take for granted was like, okay, I had a bad outing, but I'm still on a baseball field. Yeah. Nothing else outside of this mattered for the day. This is all I get to do, and I get to do what I love. Like, at this point, bump the results. If we're gonna go, I'm running full steam ahead. Like, this is what I'm gonna do for at least the time being for the 50 games, and I loved it.
No, I love that, man. Like, I think that says a lot. Again, just to be able to enjoy the game. It's really hard to enjoy the game when things aren't going well.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, you have to play the games, and you can either choose your attitude,
right?
So we can either choose to be miserable and pissed off that we haven't won a lot of games in a row, whatever,
right?
Or we can have a good attitude, come to the field every day, treat it like it's a gift because it is,
right? Of course,
and get after it and have just a fun time,
right?
So, I want people to hear what he just said. Like, that is so important. Have a good attitude every single day. Enjoy your time playing because we don't know when it's going to be over. We just don't,
right?
And it's something that you've kind of gone through where you don't know when it's going to end.
Right.
You've almost had it taken away from you a couple times.
Of course.
So I think guys that go through that earlier in their career have a really, really good outlook on just what it is, and it's a game.
Of course.
You want to compete your ass off and have fun, but it's still a game.
Of course. I think when my mindset went from pressure to privilege, that's when everything changed. So, like, I think me coming off that injury and me being at those big name schools, like, I will always be pushing the gas, pressing the issue. Like, I needed to be this good today. I needed to be perfect. And I thank Coach Steely and Coach Sanchez for embracing me and my story. And it really turned to the point of me saying, like, okay, like, I'm on a baseball field. Like, I may have walked 4 people in a row. I'm pissed off for 10, 15 minutes. As soon as I shower and I leave, I get to walk past this field and say, wow, like, I'm not sitting at Carolina no more rotting away in my apartment. I'm literally doing everything I've ever asked. Everything I prayed for is right here in front of me. And I loved every second of it.
That's great. One of the best players I played with, don't need to name who it was, but that was his thing. Like, I don't care if I went 0 for 4 with 4 punchies or if I went 2 for 3 with 2 homers and one of those was a game winner.
Right.
I get in the shower. I showered off and it's gone. Good, bad, indifferent. Boom. I'm back to being the same person I was before the game.
Right.
And it's hard because we take a lot of it. We're human beings. We take sometimes the bad home with us a lot of times. And like you said, we talked about, the family things. Why be miserable with the people that you love when, maybe you didn't go the best at, I don't know, UNC that day or whatever it is. Like, it didn't go who cares? Like, enjoy the time that you have with them. And those are lessons I think that a lot of people can take.
Definitely.
You're saying a lot of great things to these kids.
Thank you.
And just people, man. What can people expect from you this year at Queens? Now that you kind of got your feet wet again, you're feeling more and more like yourself, I would imagine.
Oh, definitely.
Baseball is back for you.
Yes.
In the sense of it's your routine again. And you got your first year, and now it's year 2.
Yes.
What we got?
Don't want to take too big of a bite off the chip, but I know for me, like, I'm expecting to be dominant.
Yeah.
In every facet of the game.
I love it.
I want to win, and I think that's something I'm emphasizing right now, definitely with, like, the team coming in. We have a lot of new transfers. We have a lot of incoming freshmen. And the culture now that I'm seeing just from playing catch and watching people take BP, it's a way different mentality. Yeah. I think a lot of people – it's a huge question mark because of everything that's happened with our program right now. But we're the ones who get to be on the field. We really get to dictate what's happening. And I know if the ball comes in my hands, like –
everything you got.
It's gone. Yeah. Like, write it up, chalk it up. We're gonna get this one today.
I love it. Oh, that's good, man. And I kind of want to hit on it a little bit. I mean, you said it earlier too, about catch play.
Yes.
Little things.
Yes.
Right. What is it about just that time of playing catch with your teammate that needs to be taken serious? Obviously, have fun doing it, right?
Of course.
But there's a purpose behind every time you're playing catch.
Everything, right? I think it comes with understanding who you are also. I know there's a lot of people who become mechanical just from doing certain drills. And I mean, obviously, like, me and you do drills in here, right? But I think the most important drill you ever had me doing was just, like, you would flip me the ball, stay athletic.
Go
Move like a shortstop. Move like you used to. Be a total athlete. So, like, for me, learning my body, learning how I wanted to move, might be a little bit different than some people. But, again, that comes with the process of playing catch. So, like, today I was long tossing with my teammate. And my thing is I can't do the whole wind up, bump that. Like I'm the ball may go on the ground, I may pick it up and I'm going to launch it. And that's how I become most efficient with my body, but also like changing sights. I think a lot of people underestimate how much power the eyes have on what you're doing. 100%. Yeah. So leading myself in the right direction. Okay, if my ball has a little bit of cut today, am I getting on around it? Cool. Let's change my sights. And now we're playing catch right behind a plate every time. So we're moving like a portable plate. So I was having my partner today stand on the glove side for me. Okay. So for me, I was feeling full extension. How am I going to be able to get this ball to him with the least amount of effort while still staying on this side of the plate? So like every day is something different. Next day, tomorrow with a recovery day for me could be, okay, I'm going to spin some more breaking balls. I want the ball to move like this today. And you only get so many throws. We're not like Steph Curry where we can shoot all day. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know.
I wish we could, but that's just the human anatomy of what baseball is. So when you get your 15 to 30 minutes of catch play, these are the most important days or most important times like you have.
No doubt. What is the development like there? You know, obviously there's such an emphasis on player development within the college game now.
Yes.
I mean, so many schools have TrackMan, Synergy, gosh, what's the other one?
We had Yacker Tech, something like that.
Okay. There's another True Media.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's just basically like analytics bunched in. You're gonna have reports on everybody.
Right.
I know, obviously every pro ball team's using something, but college baseball, it's becoming more and more prevalent.
Yes.
What does that look like for you guys from a player development standpoint? Do you guys have your own unique plans, or what's that look
It's
like?
going to be interesting to see because we have a new coaching staff. Okay. So from talking to what I've seen, we are going to be using TrackMan. We're going to be using more of the Yacker Tech, which is basically kind of on that same thing. Learning more about spin axis, learning more about direction. How is your ball going to play if you want to throw it up? Yeah. If you're low spin, okay, maybe we work lower. If you have a good fastball and it has true ride, maybe we're going to the belt a little bit higher. Like for me, my best pitch is my breaking ball, right? So if I can be able to pitch off of that, start hitters with that, or even just, it's funny, it's my best pitch, and then I still think I have a pretty decent fastball whenever it's getting in there.
Oh, yeah.
So from a metric standpoint, still trying to improve those numbers. So it's going to be real interesting. I think this fall is going to be really, really good. Just talking to Coach Luke and Coach Hendrick, I'm very excited with the new way of the direction of the program, and it seems like they're going to be able to turn a new page.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I think back in, it was ALCS, maybe World Series. I think ALCS was when the Astros were playing the Yankees in McCullers through, I think it was like 28 breaking balls in a row or something.
Ridiculous.
I think that opened the eyes to so many people of, I don't have to throw a fastball, especially as a reliever. Like, you can pitch off of a breaking ball.
Yep.
If that's your go-to and it's an outlier pitch, throw it. And obviously there's pitching in game, and there's some game flow things that we have to address during that.
Of course.
If you're throwing a power breaking ball that hasn't been touched, why go away from it?
I agree.
It's like in football. If I'm running the ball up the middle and they can't stop it, why am I going to throw a post route?
It's just like Belichick. What he did the one time, he only threw the ball like 3 times.
Yeah,
he said, we're running the whole game.
He said, nope, it's working. Dude.
Right.
We're not getting away from it. No, I love it, man. I'm really excited for you. Before you get out of here, I asked, who do you think the most person to come out of Fayetteville is? And the reason I ask is it's a small town. I mean, not small town, but military town.
Of course.
But you've had some big names to come out of that area.
Yeah. So, that's crazy.
Sorry.
Man,
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Top is
it might get
probably,
back to people.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 3. Okay. Can I go 3 at the top? I'm gonna go J. Cole.
Okay.
I'm gonna go my brother Dennis Smith Jr.
Okay.
And my other brother Vic Blends.
Vic Blends.
And I think the best thing about Fayetteville is a lot of people who do make it big, like they are very much like homegrown, and they do come back and they do give back. So like Dennis is having basketball camps with kids. Vic is giving haircuts. Like Vic is like everybody who's in Fayetteville comes back to Fayetteville. It's not like they just go and just disappear.
What do you think why is that?
I think it's that mentality, man. It's I think it's the best way to say it. The water is different. I think, but with that being said, we all come from the same like sprout.
Okay.
So we're all cut from that same cloth. We all like have grown up, kind of like knowing about each other, even if we didn't live on the same side of town. But it was a respect thing because we all understand how Fayetteville can go. That's another reason they call it Vietnam. Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go in Fayetteville, but like staying on that path, being successful in that manner, and like at that point, it's just a tip of the cap. Like we respect each other. And once you come locked in, like I know right away, my dad it's an open house. People coming in. My dad's got the smoker hooked up, grilling, like everybody.
So it's just a big family.
Big,
basically.
huge family.
Yeah.
Big, huge family.
Yeah, that's cool. And like I said, like those guys, like J. Cole and Vic Blends, all of them, like they're always just giving back to people, and they like whatever it is they're doing. Just it seems like they're true to themselves. And
right.
You spoke on it perfect, man. I think something different in the water there.
100%.
I met a lot of good people from Fayetteville.
100%.
Nah, man, that's great. Isaiah Bennett, thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate you.
I want you to wish your dad happy birthday for me, though.
Yeah, happy birthday, Pops.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you do for me. Thank you for everything you do for everybody, honestly. A true, I think the best thing about my dad, honestly, is like I've never had to look outside of my family for a role model or someone to follow. And
that's cool.
In every aspect, he's been a true man in every word he said. His roots are really grounded. He's humble. And he deserves all the flowers. He's the GOAT. So, love you, Pops.
Great. Yeah, I think it's great you're here doing this. I know you're about to go surprise him.
Yes.
Obviously, he won't hear this until after, so it's all good.
Right.
But that's cool, man.
I appreciate
Pops.
you.
He's going to have his own episode, hopefully, in a couple weeks.
Of course. We're going to get him locked in.
I think he deserves his own episode.
Yes.
The guy's a legend. So, happy birthday to Pops. Again, Isaiah Bennett, thank you so much for coming here, man. You're a legend around here. I know you're a legend in Fayetteville, and let's keep that going, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, dude, that was sick.
That was really good.
I loved it.
Did I do okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
You're like a seasoned vet to me.
Shit.
You look good.